Why does this have so many views?
People are so excited to take off. Just 19 hours to go.
Back in October, I flew on a nearly 20-hour flight from New York to Sydney with Qantas Airways. But this wasn't your ordinary long-haul trip. There were only 50 people on board because this was a test flight to see how ultra-long flights affect passengers and pilots. But is bringing a flight like this to regular service possible?
Wait.
And would customers even want to be in the air that long without a break?
What's that? How? Wait, what?
Normally, if you're
I know
flying
it's
from New
the- it
York
was-
to Sydney, you'll have to stop for a layover, which usually adds to jet lag and takes longer than a direct flight. So airlines have been working toward
I thought 16, 17-hour flights were pretty common. Am I completely
more
dumb?
convenient routes. Qantas recently tested 2 flights, New York City to Sydney and London to Sydney. At nearly 19.5 hours long, they each set the record for the longest passenger flight in the world at the time. The test flights were aboard a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner that only had about 40 passengers and 10 crew members on board. Because technically, these planes couldn't make the distance with a full payload. They would have run out of fuel.
We have 2 crews, 4 pilots in total. We'll have a team A and a team B, and we'll be swapping throughout the night to ensure...
Oh man, I bet it's something really, really dumb.
Pilots gave urine samples every 4 hours to test melatonin levels. They were also outfitted with an activity monitor, a light monitor, and an EEG headset to monitor their alertness.
There's a whole bunch of sensors in behind this.
If you think about it, I said this last time, but I didn't really elaborate on my thought. But now I think I kind of get it. Technically, if you send an object from one place to another at a certain price,
xQc
if it weighs more, it's way more expensive, right? It seems like this payload, when they talk about fuel for payload, right, it's weight-based. Does that mean that people that are of way bigger size should pay more?
2 crews, 4 pilots in total. We'll have a team A and a team B, and we'll be swapping throughout the night to ensure that...
You have a passenger, 150 pounds of payload, right? Some guy pulls up, he's 380 pounds, right? That's 2.5+ times the amount of weight. That's expensive as fuck.
the pilots get adequate rest.
Pilots gave urine samples every 4 hours to test melatonin levels. They were also outfitted with an activity monitor, a light monitor, and an EEG headset to monitor their alertness.
There's a...
It's discriminatory? Okay, well, bro, I mean, if you send a package and it's heavy, it's more expensive.
whole bunch of sensors in behind this strap here.
Taking a plane, all you're doing is sending yourself.
That are measuring our brain.
You are shipping yourself
So
to
obviously,
another country
this was no
when you take a flight
ordinary
there.
flight. We were making aviation history.
Just getting ready to take off. 20 hours till Sydney.
Qantas 7879, we really appreciate your help tonight, and this will be part of history with linking these two great cities of New York and Sydney, and 19 hours and 5 minutes later we should be touching down in Sydney.
We were flying in business class seats, but the Qantas team asked us to rotate through the coach cabin to balance out the weight on the plane. So I tried out the coach cabin, but obviously I preferred my business class seat.
We've got about 18 hours and 17 minutes to go. So it's going to be a slightly shorter flight than the 20 hours that was a possibility. It's really just because the winds are working with us, the way that the captain was able to plan the flight. We're not expecting any bad weather, and that's going to help us fly just a little bit faster.
If this had been a normal long-haul flight, the plane would have stayed on New York time throughout the flight, which typically makes it hard to adjust to a new time
Every stream he talks about fat people. Why? Dude, it's just, dude, I think they're common topics.
zone when you arrive. But on this flight, the plane and its passengers switched to Sydney time right away as part of an experiment to minimize jet lag.
Everything about the cabin lighting, everything about the food will be designed either to keep people awake or to induce them to go to sleep. And so we're hoping that they're going to end up getting off the plane and be quite comfortable in Sydney time.
Throughout the flight, we had to follow a sleep schedule, but normally, passengers wouldn't have had to do this.
Right now the cabin lights are all bright, everybody's walking around, taking pictures, and we're really just trying to power through and stay awake.
To keep us from falling asleep, we were encouraged to get up and walk around. I went and checked out the crew quarters, where cabin crew members and pilots can take a nap between their shifts. Then, it was time to eat.
This is the first meal. This is the one that's a little spicier, chocolate, chilies, peppers.
The first meal was light, spicy, and flavorful, helping us stay wide awake. We weren't supposed to have any alcohol because it would make us sleepy. After lunch, we were asked to stay awake for the next 4 hours until dinner. Some people watched movies, and others chose to keep moving. stretching, squatting, and even dancing.
Definitely starting to feel a bit tired. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, New York time. We're about to have our dinner, and then after that, the whole plane is going to go to sleep.
The flight crew came and put mattress pads on each of the seats. Then, it was time for a heavy dinner that would make us want to sleep.
Cabin lights are dimming. Definitely feeling tired. It's been, I think, almost 21 hours.
No, I like it. I like it.
Super
Any chicken-based dish on airplanes are bussin'.
excited to go to sleep.
At the touch of a button, the business class seats folded flat into a bed. Then, the flight attendants turned off the lights to match Sydney's nighttime. I passed out almost immediately and slept so hard.
I just slept for more than 8 hours, which is the best I've ever slept on a plane. We have just under 3 hours to go.
In the morning, the lights were brought up slowly with a warm glow, copying Sydney's sunrise. Right away, we had breakfast. And before I knew it, we were coming in on Sydney. We landed at 7:43 a.m., 19 hours.
Wait, what a weird-looking city. Or
I knew it. We were coming in.
Wait, chat, am I wrong? You guys, the colors feel weird. Maybe it's the color. Maybe it's just a video.
In on Sydney. We landed at 7:43.
Guys, it feels like a flooded city. It feels like the city's been flooded. Does it not? It looks like a map from a game.
7:43 a.m., 19 hours and 16 minutes after taking off from New York. Even after crossing 15 time
Atlantis.
zones, I didn't feel
Atlantis
jet lagged,
or whatever.
and all of the other passengers I spoke to felt the same. Qantas hasn't released the pilots' biometric data yet, but the pilots told me they felt great after the flight. 20 hours in the air wasn't as hard on my body as I thought it would be. The new service flow really did help me adjust to Sydney time a lot faster than had I broken up the trip with a stop. But I really think getting up and moving, eating the right food, and sleeping on Sydney time is what made the flight easier. Plus, we got there a lot faster. While I would totally take this flight again, I'll have to wait. Qantas says it won't actually start regular service until 2023. I flew it on a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner. However, Qantas picked the Airbus A350-1000 for the future routes.
Cool, man.
But before Qantas starts flying, it has to convince investors that this will make money, and that passengers would actually want to take this flight. Then, they have to convince regulators that crews can work the long flight safely. Right now, Singapore Airlines holds the record for the longest commercial flight, a 19-hour daily flight from Newark, New Jersey to Singapore. But with its test flights through Project Sunrise, Qantas is getting...
I'll be honest, the best way to do it, you take flights direct. Fuck layovers, I hate that shit.